It's Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse is here with me. Patrick, how you doing this morning?
I am doing just fine, sir. That
Good to
was
hear.
got a little rain, so the we might even see a touch of green on the lawn here for the first time in a couple of weeks. That's good.
I haven't mowed the lawn in I don't know how long, Patrick. It just isn't growing right now. It's
No,
unbelievable.
it is. It is quite the drought. I think it compares with '88. I was playing golf in '88, so I didn't mind the drought then. I liked that extra 20 yards of bounce, but not so much anymore because I don't play anymore. So anyway.
No, not good for most things. Um, I could do a speaking of droughts, the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl segue, but I'm not that kind of person, Patrick. Instead, let's just talk about this year. I don't know. I want to start with the Vikings. I want to talk a little Twins after that and some Miguel Cabrera as well. But let's start with the Vikings. I don't know if you watched any of what is now, I think, the all important second preseason game because the starters get a little bit more run because there's only 3 preseason games now. Some starters might have to play the third game now. They're talking about that because they didn't score an offensive touchdown again. 2 preseason games, and it gets just the preseason. We can, throw as many caveats as you want, but if you're going to get excited, as we have in past years, about good preseason performances, you got to be a little bit alarmed, I guess, at least some of the things you've seen so far. But the head coach was in a much better mood after the second game, at least at halftime, after he saw the way his starters played on defense. I think, Patrick, this year Mike Zimmer does not care a single bit about the offense, does not care a single bit about his quarterback's feelings because he's ripping him about the vaccine. They're talking about bringing in Everson Griffin, who ripped him 8 months ago. I think Mike Zimmer wants to show everybody he didn't need this quarterback. He didn't need any elite, high-paid quarterback. Just give me the defense and I can do it myself.
Well, I think he certainly is in a better mood because the defense, when the first team was in there, gave up nothing, and really they only gave up 12 points in the game, and the 2 big guys in the middle looked good, stopped the run. So yeah, I think you're right that he's happy about. That's why he was in a better mood. But the thing about the third week is the last game being the third time, they do have a week off. So I mean, it's really no different than the third game used to be. You have a week off, so there's no reason not to play your regulars if you want to for a while. What's with Dalvin Cook? He never plays in exhibition games, huh? Is this it?
Yeah, maybe
They're not
running back.
gonna.
Maybe Adrian never did either. I don't think. I think
Yeah.
running backs
After
probably
a
needed.
while, he did, and Dalvin early on had the injury problem, so maybe that's it. But that offense, we're not going to find out how good that offense is until we see Dalvin Cook on the field,
Yeah,
right?
Justin Jefferson too. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, so it's hard to get nervous about him. And what Cousins threw 5 out of 7, all short passes.
Yeah, 23,
For
23
23
yards.
yards.
23 yards.
23 yards. So I guess we're gonna. It'll be interesting to me. I mean, if the offense is not explosive, we're gonna be on Clint Kubiak after about 2 games, right? And we like to turn on our offensive coordinators, but the mystery offensively, obviously, is the offensive line. That somehow they got in a situation where they got Rasha and Hill playing even a more important position than he used to play. I think the Riley Reef decision is controversial. He had a pretty good year as a left tackle, and all of a sudden they were too cheap to pay him, so they let him go, and they don't have a left tackle right now. Darsau's had 2 surgeries, and it was going to be an adjustment for him anyway, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. They're not. Hey, we got. This isn't like McKinney, who weighed 700 pounds and was coming in to play. He played right tackle, right? No,
No, he was left tackle.
Left tackle. Yeah, and they started him in game 3, right, that year, and he played okay. But this guy is, we don't know. He was highly rated into the draft, but how did they end up in the situation after using all this ammunition to draft offensive linemen with a journeyman at left tackle and a guy we've never heard of at right guard? I don't understand how
because they're not any good at it. They've never been good at it. It's baffling. You'd think like the law of averages. I mean, they've spent a lot of draft capital over the years now on offensive linemen. Like you said, like the critique for a long time was they just weren't drafting them, right? They got kind of, whether you want to call it, whether you want to say lucky or whether you want to say they were astute, they'd hit on some like sixth rounders, over time with like John Sullivan, guys like that. So they thought they could do that. So they kept doing that. And it didn't work. So like, okay, we finally got to invest. And, they hit on Brian O'Neill, but the rest of them, we don't know yet. None of these guys do we know yet.
I believe that Kirk Cousins this season, through his entire career, his time in Washington, his time here when he first came in, this is the most pressure there's ever been on him. The fate of the head coach and the general manager relies with him. The fans are ready to turn on him as never before. They're gonna kill him if he comes out and they have to punt on their second possession. If they have to punt on their first two possessions, they're going to be on him at home. And I think that is, I think we spend too much time just absolutely dissecting quarterbacks, but I really feel that this guy is walking into the cauldron as he's never done before in his career, that people are ready to get him. And he is going to be blamed for any offensive failures, even if the offensive line still stinks.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think you're right. I mean, the only other comparison would be 2018 when he came in here right off the free agent deal, and they'd gone to the NFC title game the year before. So it's like there was a lot of Super Bowl talk that year, but it was his first year of a 3-year contract, and it didn't work that year, but I don't think everybody blamed him. He still had a good statistical year. That was more of an offensive line failure. You could point to a lot of things. They fired the coordinator midway through the year, as they are wont to do. Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know if Kirk under pressure, is that good for him? I mean, sometimes he can channel that in the right way, but I don't think over the years you would say you want Kirk Cousins uncomfortable, do you? Yeah, I think you want him comfortable.
Yes. Oh, definitely, 100%. And it's this. No matter what happens in Exhibition 3, this is going to be a great mystery, as most NFL
a beautiful mystery, as Aaron Rodgers might say.
Yeah, a beautiful mystery, as most seasons are in the NFL, unless you're so loaded unless you got Patrick Mahomes or something, right? I mean, most seasons are a mystery in the NFL, and this one is, to me, this really is a could go either way season, because I still think they are going to be more talented than most everybody they play. But whether they get their act together or not is beyond me, and whether the coach goes nuts when they're having a bad performance. And what's going to be our view of him if this season turns into 9-8, or and they squeeze into the playoffs, and then he's gone after this season. Zim, as his time here, it's interesting. I mean, certainly had some outstanding defenses there, but and was interesting to have around. But man, in the modern sports scene, in the way sports are handled by head coaches and managers and stuff now, with this constant PR crapola and kissing up to everybody, even when things aren't good. Having this crusty guy who was so quick-tempered we know this, and I think I've said this before to you, Mike. We know this. The next one is going to be a 40-year-old cheerleader that coached the Vikings. The next, we should we as media types, we should love the fact we have Zim because he's the last one we're ever going to see. After this, it's going to be all BS.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, I don't know what the view would be. Like you're right. Let's say they go 9-8, make the playoffs, quick exit, and they just decide, okay, we got to start over. And I don't know if that would be a start over moment, but it could be. It would be playoffs in 4 of his 8 years. It would be winning 2 playoff games. You would have the benefit of, ownership that has spent plenty of money. It's not a question of, do they have the resources? They got the new stadium, they got the new practice facility. I think the overall assessment of his tenure, if it would have ended after this year in that way, would have been a little bit above average. Not bad, not great. Wanted more, but it was. I get the feeling people overrate him slightly, and just in terms of what they've accomplished. They made the playoffs 3 out of 7 years. I mean, that's not great.
No, it's not. The other thing is, I never give NFL teams for spending money because you can only spend so much, and then you can, for want of a better word, screw any player you want to, basically, by not paying them if you don't like the way the contract is working out. So, I mean, the fact that the Wilfs spent to the cap does not make them noble because they're making $200 million a year anyway when they have a full season. So, whenever you see a bottom line with an NFL team, remember that that bottom line is also includes what they borrowed to buy the team, the payments on that. And so we're paying off the team for them out of that money. And then when they turn around and sell it, it's going to be, there's for way, 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 way more money. They could deserve no credit. Unlike, baseball is really the only sport where it matters what the owners spend, right?
Yeah.
It's the only, it's because it's the only sport where it's up to the owners. Everybody else you can spend to the cap, and they do. So there's no glory for Leopold or Wilf or Glenn Taylor to spend to the cap. That's just what you do. Now the NBA, it's weird too. You can go over the cap and stuff like that. But anyway, that's not my point. I know that people get mad at the Pohlads and not the Wilfs. Well, the Wilfs are spending like everybody else in the league. They're not like superbly funding their team or anything like that. Now they did with the new facility and everything. But as far as players, you spend what you spend, right?
Yeah. And we'll see what they can get done this year. To your point just a minute ago, too, I agree. I think I've even said this on the Access Vikings podcast with Ben and Andrew. I feel like the degree of variance with this team is as high as I can remember it being, where I could see them winning like literally anywhere between 5 and 12 games this year. Like it could go, like they're talented enough that if things go well, I could see them winning 12 games, going 12-5. I don't think that's far-fetched given how good their skill position guys are if they stay healthy. But in a year like this, where they've kind of like, they kind of know that this is it moment. When these things go south, they go south fast.
Yeah, that's true. And guess what?
What?
When this year's over, and if Kirk has a bad year and you're ready to move on for Kirk, you have not found your quarterback yet. You're gonna have to go through the whole process. Okay, you're gonna have to do what they've done in Chicago, what they're gonna have to do in Green Bay. They don't know if they found their quarterback yet. The next Detroit, they went and got a guy who failed miserably with a good roster. So you're gonna have to go. Kellen Mond is not going to be your quarterback around here for years to come. So you're going to have to go through that whole process again, which will be good luck to the new coach if this season blows up. But the vibe is in this training camp has been, and that's, I still call it training camp, even though it's not officially training camp, has been very similar to 2010. And while it's certainly not going to go as far backwards as that because they have more talent and more commitment, I think, from their players, I I think that the vibe has been so bad that it's hard to be as optimistic as I certainly was when the training camp started. I thought, man, they loaded up on defense. They got this explosive offense, statistically. And, I thought 11, 12, I thought they'd win the division easy. And now I think I see a team that's going to scrounge to make the playoffs.
Yep, I think that's true. And you're right, Mond, I mean, very early in his career right now, but was not impressive in the second half on Saturday. It's just, you just don't know exactly what's there yet either. And by the way, Cousins, final point on the Vikings. Even if you're ready to move on for him next year, by the way, he's got $45 million coming to him in 2022. So good luck with that.
I also saw what Rodgers over there, and it's this whole thing he can leave after this year. The dead money is $23 million. I saw, if they let him leave.
Yeah.
If that's what really, I think the Packers think they're going to have him for 2 more years, don't you?
I think they'd like to anyway. We'll see. I don't know. I think I'd want Aaron Rodgers around as long as I could. I don't know.
Sure. And I think he's, he can come back and say they talked to me more. And I mean, I think he can save face now by, saying, hey, they've consulted me on or that or whatever. But yeah, it's, they're overrated, by the way. I really do think, even with him back, last year was their chance and they screwed it up. And I think they're vastly overrated. I think if the Vikings go south, this is going to be the worst division I think you're going to have. You could be the old times when Bud used to win the division at 8-7-1, or 8-8. After the glory years, you could have 9-8 winning the division this year. I think none of these teams are that good. If the Vikings are the only one of the 4 that could be really good, I think.
Interesting.
But I don't think they're going to be really good because just things are screwed up and they're goofy. And, I heard Thielen talking to Ben Lieber at the end of the exhibition game about how great the vibe is. Ben Lieber getting all this credit for asking the hard question about the mask. Well, he didn't mention mask in the interview. He didn't say, is your locker room split because some of you dummies don't wear masks? It was a vague little, suggestions. There's been some things, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I like Lieber as a guy, but this was not like hardcore journalism saying to Thielen on the sidelines, the word's out that you're not a mask guy either. Has that divided the locker room? That was not the way he asked his question. That was the way it was treated.
Yes.
But that's what he said. That's not what he asked. So
no,
anyway.
we can't forget that storyline either. I mean, it's kind of quieted down for the last couple of weeks, but that can flare up at any moment. Patrick, I want to transition because I enjoyed your column the other day on our guy, Jose Miranda. We've both written about him at a certain point now because I wrote about him right after he hit those 3 home runs in his Saints debut. And, you wondered after that, was that just kind of hey, he had a great game, but he has gone on after that to keep hitting at St. Paul after hitting a ton at Wichita earlier in the year. What were some of your takeaways from getting out there, talking to Toby Gardenhire just about, where this guy fits into the organization, and just the year he's having is one of the best years they've probably seen from a prospect in a while.
And in an era where like big leagues has 12 or 13 guys hitting 300, I mean, it's the same in the minor leagues. The pitching's dominated. Everybody's got 14 pitchers. He's hitting 340. That's a big number. That's the equivalent of 380 4 years ago. He's a bigger kid than I remember. And I've watched him on a backfield there a couple of days, in 19, I think. And my friend of mine, Billy Milas, a scout, told me this kid can really hit. And so I started watching him then, and he didn't hit at all. 2019, he had a terrible year at Fort Myers, and that they were all disappointed. But he's a bigger guy. I think ordinary third baseman, not a real good one.
No.
His hands are okay, but he's slow. He does not run fast. He's a big guy, but the bat, the bat plays, and it's going to be interesting. What they, he's 24 now.
23, I think still is all.
23, going to be, it's 6 years in the minors, and he's he got signed young as a second round draft choice out of Puerto Rico, and but he's a big kid. He can hit, and it's this Donaldson situation is quite the obstacle for this team. What are they going to do? A guy is as mediocre as could be. You don't know when he's going to play. You got to DH him 2/3 of the time, and you still owe him $50 million.
Yeah, they don't. I've talked about this, and I want you to finish your point here. I feel like that move to sign him, and I know they kind of were at a different place, but I don't know if we were as critical about that at the time as we needed to be, because that was even suspect at the time to give that much money to a guy that age at that position with that history.
And you wouldn't give Eduardo Escobar, who is a way better player than Donaldson, you wouldn't give him like 3 years. I know he ended up signing 3 for 27. He wouldn't have taken that here at the time, but he would have taken 35 for 3 or something. Yeah. You wouldn't give him the money. He wanted to, you were going to show how brilliant you were with your trades, one of your best players. And then you bring this guy in, and now you're at ungodly amount of money. What weird thing to do. And then and now they're stuck with him. Ariza's position is third base. Miranda's position is third base.
Yep.
Austin Martin, one of his positions, the kid at Wichita now, is one of his positions is third base. And what are you going to do? This guy can't be your DH. I guess I don't know. You don't want to, one thing about getting rid of Nelson Cruz, you can use that position now to play other guys, which I think in modern baseball is the way you like to do it. But what are they going to do? They're absolutely stuck with him. He actually had a couple of good weeks in end of June, you thought, and said, yeah, maybe they'll be able to move him by paying half the money or something. And then he's been, he's hardly played and then now that he's back playing again, he's not, what he's disappointed to me. He's not good in the clutch. He has not been good in the clutch at all. And, once in a while I hit a 2-run homer when it seems like it doesn't count very often. And, I don't know. He's been, you're right. I mean, it's a complete flop, and, the first year he didn't play, and
right. And it makes no sense on next year's roster. I mean, if you're even if you think you're going to be okay and getting better next year, you don't want to be paying somebody like that. Like they got to figure something out. They got close to moving him at the deadline, from what I understand, but it didn't happen. But maybe they'll be interested this offseason.
Well, there was some thought Atlanta take him back because their hitting was so mediocre there. Now that they're running away with that division, and they certainly aren't going to be. I don't know where you're going to move him. I don't know who's going to take him. But man alive, you're going to eat 50?
Yeah, I don't know. And and even if you do that, then you get, you're still counting on prospects. You're still counting on, we don't know what Miranda will do at this level, but I'd love to see him I'd love to see him get a couple weeks here. I just want to see what he can do.
Yes. Yeah, I do too. And the other thing is you can't be moving Polanco back to shortstop playing second. We've done that. And Polanco's a much better second baseman, and he's not a shortstop. So you don't have a shortstop.
No, you don't have a shortstop. You don't know exactly what you want to do at third base. First base too isn't all that settled.
Reusse is not a left fielder. That's
no.
Yeah, found that out. So you got 2 third basemen, and then you got Donaldson standing in the way. And I don't know. I guess they could. One reason you got him right is because he was going to really tighten up the fielding. Right, third base.
That hasn't been great.
Well, you don't need that now. No. What are they going to do at shortstop?
I don't know. I asked Phil Miller that last week when I talked to him, and it's a mystery. I mean, I think they would have hoped, I think the idea before this year was that it would be Reusse Lewis in 22, but he had the ACL, and now they're probably going to need a 1-year kind of veteran. Hope it's not going to be Andrelton, I don't think, again, but someone like that.
I love Andrelton at times, but he has really been I think what he's been in the last month has been a very careless fielder. He's he makes amazing plays, but plus he can't hit. I mean,
he can't hit.
They had no idea that he was a 215 hitter, and so they're going to have to do something. But yeah, Donaldson is man. But Miranda, let's see him. He can hit. I mean, let's
see him. Let's see
what the hell.
Let's see Joe Ryan too. He had 9 strikeouts in his 4-inning Saints debut the other day, and he just looks like a pitcher.
Well, with Maeda taking a hike on him, they're going to have to bring him up, aren't they? They got to have. I mean, they what is criminal?
What?
Criminal as far as ownership of a baseball team and operation of a baseball team to send Charlie Barnes, an 88-mile-an-hour fastball out against the Yankees. He had 0 chance to get the Yankees to go 2 innings. Again, I mean, they let him, after the game was lost, they let him keep going out there. That was a disgrace. That's like pitching Pedro Hernandez in September in 2011 and 12 or whatever, giving a guy who was pitching for the Saints the next year. This guy is, I mean, this is not acceptable. That's acceptable.
That just gave up. They were just like, let's just get this game in, because there's no chance in that game.
Yeah, he has no chance to get him out. And Maeda was so disgusted with him, the way that with the shifts killing him, he bailed basically because he was bad, because little routine ground balls were base hits, right?
Yeah.
Did you see how mad he was?
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is BS. Wes had to come up and talk to him, and then 8 pitches later, he's out. I think they'll move him too, don't you?
I don't know. There was that. There was the report that came out right after the deadline that there was talk of a Donaldson and Maeda trade to the Mets. I feel like that those guys were going to be a package deal. So that sounds like they were just wide open for business at the deadline, and whatever happened. And one guy we didn't even get to, and I want to get to Miguel Cabrera here quick in a second, but one guy we didn't even get to is Byron Buxton, who also was a lot of trade talk. He's been playing with the Saints for the last few days, hit a home run Sunday. Love to see him back here at the big club too.
Yeah, why is he not in Boston Tuesday?
I don't know. Should be.
Idiot.
Let's go. Let's go.
I mean, it's, they're going to wait till he gets hurt again in St. Paul. We've already done that, for God's sake.
He's played more in St. Paul than
I do like the fact he played 5 innings, and then we had to give him a day of rest and recovery while you're on the rehab. Yeah. Rest and recovery. I'd like to find the guy who came up with that phrase and put him in a headlock. That crap. I got another lingo thing, but first let's talk about.
Yeah, let's get Miggy, because we only got a few minutes left here. Miguel Cabrera, 500 home runs, closing in on 3,000 hits too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
would be only
40. He needs 40 some though, so he's going to have to play another year. He won't get 40 hits, I don't think. Do you?
Yeah, wouldn't be out of the question, but yeah, it would be at the rate he plays now, maybe not.
If they let him,
not a slam dunk.
He'll play every day, but I've always loved the guy. I saw him as a 20-year-old kid, with Miami. He was going to be one of the great hitters of all time, and he was, until his legs went out on him about the last 3 years. And he's basically now hitting with his upper body.
Yes.
He doesn't have that foundation anymore. But it's amazing. It wasn't always there that he was such a right center field hitter, that he could take that pitch outside, on the outer half and drive it to right field. But now that's basically where all his power is. But for the last 10 years, at least, he's been the best right field power hitter I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's for a right-handed hitter.
Yes.
Obviously. And it's amazing how in that ballpark, that's another thing you got to remember. They moved, for some reason, these dummies had Miguel Cabrera, and they moved into and they made the park the biggest park in
Right.
baseball. Why did they do that?
Maybe their pitching stunk. I don't know.
He'd have, well, no, they had all the good pitching.
Yeah, it's true. They did.
Teams. I mean, he'd have 550 if he wasn't playing in America. And but he's a great guy, and I don't think we've ever got him on the PEDs that to the point that there's been hints here and there. But I think he's a Hall of Famer for sure. I don't think that anything. Yeah, I mean, he's first ballot 96, 80%. We got idiots who won't vote for him. So there's always 4 or 5% who won't vote for certain people just to make kind of a point. And I don't know what it is, but yeah, and a real character. All the players love the guy. I mean, really? He's the favorite opponent of other players because he's pulling pranks on him over at first base, and he's he's just doing goofy stuff. So yeah, of Miggy and much like Harmon, Harmon had to wait like 2 weeks to hit his 500th when he hit him for the Twins, and then he hit a second one the same day. So I was getting a little nervous about Miggy had that whole homestand without hitting the home runs. I was getting a little nervous, but because at some point it gets embarrassing. But Harmon was in his prime as a home run hitter when he had to wait, and Miggy was, Miggy's. It's not a surprise that it took him a while because he doesn't hit that many now because he takes whatever hits he can get. But one of the all-time greats, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. What was your piece of lingo?
Here's my other thing. I saw this from our Gophers women's soccer coach today, and I'm seeing it for everybody. How come in business, which used to say, business used to have groups, right?
Yeah.
Big groups. Now they have teams, right?
Yes.
Business got teams. And teams are now groups in sports. We got our group.
That's true.
Group. Rocco's an our group guy. I saw this soccer coach says our group has this. That's become the big cliche now in sports is group. I don't like it. Go back to being a team. Shut up about group. I don't like it. You're not a group. You're a team.
Give the group back to business. Give the group back to business. Let's swap it back.
Our group of idiot quarterbacks, they're a group. I do not like group. Okay. I do not like group for sports. You're not. Our group is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
And when you get as old and cranky as I do, you look for stuff to annoy you. And this is one that's annoying me. Group.
And like the veteran radio podcast man that you are, you brought it full circle by saying our group of idiot quarterbacks. So congratulations on that.
Okay.
I love it, sir. Appreciate it. We'll get you next week. All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah.